Well, of course, now we're at a point of the year, and I say this again and again, we're in September, so it's the late evening of the day, like, and there isn't really much to be kind of see, but you've still got a bunch of roses, you've still got like a lovely a load of colour. So I will say we're with the very beautiful Johanna Kinsella. Johanna, how would I? Johanna or Joanne?
Johanna.
Johanna, there we go. With a H?
H.
Oh, very fancy.
When you're going to make a man out of it.
Very fancy, holy moly. Beautiful garden. You've been here now for, I don't know how many years?
64 years here.
Wow, well then you've gotten used to the place. You're settling in.
Oh, well and truly now.
But I've always noticed it's another one of those gardens that you walk by and you just notice, because you really seem to take a huge amount of pride, I would imagine, in what you have here.
I love potting around the garden. I absolutely love being around the garden, particularly when everything is just coming to life.
And would there be a kind of a history in the family? I don't know whether that was something you developed as a child, or whether it was something that came later on. I don't know if it was a parent.
I always loved it.
And the family, with a father or mother or anyone like that, have been similar?
Yes, well, I lived in the heart of the country, so...
Right, well then you're surrounded.
From a farm, but still we always had a nice rose.
Well then you're always going to be surrounded by the idea of plants and how they get on and all that. Well, as I said, now I was across the road with that young Clancy woman, and she's...
Helen has
well, she just mentioned the fact that it'd be great to come over and have a look at yourself. So I would think that this is, as always with a garden, it's kind of during the right from, I guess, February on, it's a full-time job.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It will sort of shut down, over November, December, and January. You're gonna just let it tick over, because there isn't. But I suppose you always have to keep an eye on it. That's the thing about a good garden.
For the garden?
Yeah, when you're doing the gardening, I suppose you kind of...
always have jobs to do in it. Always tidying the flowers and plants.
Yeah. Well, even during the down period, even during the winter, you still got to keep an eye on what's going on with it and all that. We'll have a quick look at the front now, because I know you've lovely like window boxes now.
As I said, Paul, there's very little left now, honey.
Of course. Well, I'm seeing roses, and you see, I'm guessing now that you would have seen a lot more than I'm seeing. But I'm seeing lovely flowers all over the place. Yeah. Well, that's me being in Egypt, not getting around to this at the start of the summer. I just realised how many gorgeous gardens we have in Greystones, especially in a lovely house like this. The kind of cottage thing when you've got. But it's a beaut. Of course, it's a beaut. I think they're the ones that have real character, real depth. 1906. All right. And was do you know the previous owners? Like, where there's a like?
No, there was no other owners. They were only being built because Jim lived in the house and they were washed out of beach.
Okay. Well, then it's a long term.
They came for here as
right.
children.
Well, of course,
they were only being built at that time.
So right from the start, right. Yeah. You got a fresh batch. But and also, of course, like the Kinsella name connected to the coal yard and up and so that was always a big part of of your life, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, Jim did that from 1933.
Wow, that's commitment, all right. Yes. And it does seem, I think, that in itself is an outdoor. So you're sort of almost continuing the farm thing.
I never had to buy vegetables.
Hey.
Everything in vegetable and potatoes.
Right. And would you have grown that here now, or grown it up and down? Where would you have grown the vegetables now? On the original farm or down?
See, we had half acre.
You had more land, of course, down the back, so that was handy.
I gave that to Billy then to build a house.
Right. I'd say you're regretting that now. You'd prefer potatoes over Billy.
It was too big. It was too big. I'd never maintain it,
Yeah, well.
But Jim tilled every bit of that, like.
Right. Yeah. Well, my dad was the same. Now, from Blackberry Lane, we had a few acres, almost like 2 or 3 acres. But every now and again, he'd sort of have certain parts of it would be dedicated to vegetables and all that. And we had the cows and only a handful of cows and a handful of sheep, but it was enough to keep you going. And also, that connection to the land was great. Yeah, because the cycle of seasons and how.
Yourself, as I said, I come from a farming community. Myself from expert, so.
We are the most attractive, grounded people, I think, when we come from those sort of backgrounds.
I think the old land stays with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sign.
Yeah. Well, I must say now, I mean, you're telling me, of course, that it is during the sort of down period now that the plants are sort of saying goodnight, but it still get that sense of a beautiful garden, a sense of somebody lives here who just knows what they're doing. So, is it just yourself now, or would there be other members of the family got into this at all? I don't know whether.
Well, I'm here on my own. Billy lives down in the bungalow. But he works with me in their lives.
But the love of
his wife teaches, so they're all day. The two boys are.
But the love of the gardening, were there other members of the family? I don't know whether there was other people who would get involved, or whether it was always your passion to look after them.
It was always my passion.
Nice. Well, as I said, you're doing a fantastic job.
The grandson will cut the grass for me,
There you go. Well, that's just donkey work. You need a donkey every now and again.
Hedges, but the flowers.
Yeah.
I used to do that up to recently. Do the hedges too.
Yeah.
You know,
but a lovely garden. I'm sure when the sun is out now, it must be a little bit of heaven just to be.
It was lovely in the summer. Nice early in the season.
But what I'll do is I'll make a deal. I'll come back next summer when it's in full bloom and get a nice photograph of you. Because as I said, I just thought of this halfway through the summer. Towards the end, I thought, do you know what? There's so many lovely gardens. I must do a quick tour around. But we'll do it every year, so we'll keep an eye and sort of make sure people get to see the best part of it. But beautiful work. Well done, kid.